Guys, here we're back. We had our firstly weekly roundup call last week on Friday. First time was very exciting. It was very cool. I think people enjoyed it. Like I said before, it's learning by doing. So we're just gonna see how this goes. We have some new people on the call, which is nice. Um, and we had some topics coming from the community, some questions that we're gonna talk about and see where the conversation takes us. We're gonna do it a little bit more controlled in terms of speaking. So if you want to say something on the topic, just raise your hands and I'll give you the word, and you can share whatever you want to share with the group and the rest of the people. Um, I think if I may, if you're going to speak, by the way, for the first time in this call, please do give a quick introduction of yourself. Keep it short and then just share the mojo. So again, thank you for taking the time to doing this, and it's I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you guys are having it too, which is the most important thing. So to not wait any longer. Ferry, I know you were there last time. I know you had some questions on personal branding, which is one of my favorite topics, of course. So maybe it's cool to, if you could share, some of your thoughts and questions that you have, and I'll probably be the first one to speak on that, and we'll, take everybody's opinions after.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Thanks. So just quickly, my name is Faye. I'm the co-founder of the Brand Humanizing Institute. And I basically work on the synergy of humans and technology. Could be AI, could be NFT, could be anything. So yeah, we were discussing last week in the Discord about branding. And the thing that I run into often is that I run the company basically. So that means that I'm in charge of socials, but I also have a personal brand. I'm fully aware of myself being a brand too, wanting to speak on topics that I enjoy. And I think today is a great example. I created a blog post which fits my personal brand, but it also fits my company brand. And then I'm conflicted, like, where do I use it? I don't want to take away resources from the company, but I don't want to take resources away from my personal brand. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
conflicted all the time. And I'm really curious how you guys feel about that.
Well, great question. Like I said, I'll just start. It's one of my strong suits, I believe, and it's one of my I get most enthusiastic about is building personal brands. I think a lot of people struggle with the same question. To be honest, is that a lot of people are focused on building their company brand and company brand, company brand. Funny enough, especially in the beginning, when you are a smaller company, you're just a couple people. Um, there's competitors everywhere. Let's start with that. Like, nobody's unique. There's other people doing the same thing as your company's probably doing. So especially in the beginning, why people will decide to work with you and your company is, I already said it, it's because of you. And um, that happens offline. Like, you meet people, you have a certain connection with the person. Um, and eventually they'll say, okay, I'm gonna work with this guy because I like Ferry. He's a cool guy, and I trust what he has to say, and I like his way of thinking, his way of doing, and he'll bring you the gig or the job. Now, going back to online, because that's the world we live in today, uh, it happens the same way. So in terms of going directly into the question, personal brand versus company brand, I think in the beginning of your company, your personal brand is the most important brand you're working on. Then secondly, what you do for your company brand, the company brand is more of a how do you say that, a billboard, in my opinion. So you share company updates, you share new projects, but the real cool stuff happens on your personal brand. Like, you share your personal vision, your personal thoughts, your personal ideas. Going back to your blog, I haven't read it, unfortunately, but uh, maybe it's a good question. Like, what did you share in the blog? Like, what did you write about, and how was that built upon it at this point?
Well, the blog was focused on the year 2030, which is something that a lot of companies are working towards. Some countries have specific plans for 2030 in terms of technology and humans, others don't. Um, but I've written it from like a personal perspective, because I do feel that I never want to talk as a brand. I want to talk as a person, and the people
Yeah.
who read it are people with emotions as well. They don't want to read like a corporate letter. So the problem is that, because it is my voice, I'm also the voice of my organization, and that's why it fits both. It fits both in the sense of I am interested in this topic. That's why it fits me and my audience. But it's the work of my organization. It's what we focus on. So it's perfect for both of them. It's not even like it fits me more than the brand. It's like it fits both perfectly.
Well, that's a good sign, because if you are writing something down that you believe in, and then you think, I cannot share this with my company page, then there's something wrong. Like there's a disconnection there. Something is completely off, because it is you are your company and the other way around. So, and I think you answered your own question, because it is indeed for this specific thing. It's definitely a combination of both, in my opinion. Is that you'll probably sign it as, written by Ferry, or with warm regards, Ferry, at the end of the letter, and which probably is some sort of statement letter, or a vision topic, or however you want to call it. What I would do then, to make it a little bit more concrete on your personal socials, is highlight certain stuff and explain why you are talking about this and why this is important to you, and then link to the full on thought leader piece of text that you just wrote, which can then be hosted on your company website. It's basically the same thing. So it's I understand your struggle, but I do believe that in this case it's definitely a combination of both. um so I guess you did good. But if there's anyone else who has something to add to Ferry at this point.
Yeah, just quick one, just my 2 cents there, Ferry, because I myself struggle with the issue myself as well. But just from an outsider looking in, I do strongly believe, however, that if I was looking to get into that space and I would see you posting something as a thought leader and kind of go like, hey, that really clicks and resonates for me, and then decide to have a bit of a deeper dive on your profile and then see that you actually have a company within that space that I'm heavily interested in, then and naturally for me, once I hit the point that I'm ready to kind of move forward there, it would be a natural step for me to reach out to you, right? Because the way that you as an individual wrote the article might have resonated with me, your chain of
Hmm.
thought, the way of writing. Whereas if I would have seen the company page come through, it might not have directly clicked for me, right? So I think it's very important as well as an individual to still remain posting out there, and as far away as it might seem that it might actually bring leads and potential revenue in, right? I do believe that the potential is there.
100%. And that comes back to the strong foundation of humans, is that people connect easier with other people than with companies. It's that simple. Like you connect, just like Robert said, you resonate. It's some story or some train of thought resonated with you as a person, and it's a lot easier to connect with something that's alive, like another human being, except for something that is just a more static brand, so to speak. Does that answer your question a little bit, Ferry?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It kind of gives me the feeling that um, it would be skipped easier if it was sent from the corporate page, or if people
For
see it
sure.
in our timeline. Yeah, so when I bring in the human touch, people will research me and then see where I work. And okay, yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
It's
think
funny.
it can be a bit more opinionated as well, right? Like from a company kind of PR and maybe communication strategy, you would really want to speak towards the masses. Whereas when you're sending it from your personal page, you can be a bit more opinionated and really give it your personal point of view.
I totally agree.
Yeah, same. Sounds good. Makes sense.
Anyone else working on their personal brand? Like, funny enough, it's I think, to make a broad statement. Um, um, I wanted to make a broad statement on personal branding in general, because it's a very misused word. It's a buzzword. It's people think, if they think of personal branding, they think about Instagram influencers that take pretty pictures of themselves all the time and build a brand like that. I don't think you build a brand like that, but so when it comes to personal branding, I think everybody's a personal brand, and that sounds very scary. But personal branding is about who you are as a person, the way you talk, the way you behave amongst other people, the way you how do you say that? The way you connect with other people, the way you help other people. It's all every decision you make basically in that sense makes your brand, and so everybody is a personal brand. But yeah, there's some people that are more actively working on it than others. And so yeah, I would love to hear who is and who isn't and why not. So JV, go ahead, man.
Yeah, and I just want to build what you just said. It's personal branding. How do people want to be seen, and how do people perceive you? That's your personal brand. And there, for me personally, I have my own company that's very small, or I'm part of a company. But I'm also part of probably one of the biggest multinationals in the world, and I need to be very careful that anything I say can be perceived as an opinion of my employer, and that
True.
is something I personally need to be very wary of. That I don't drop their names everywhere. That I everything I write, every time I voice an opinion, I need to be I need to be mindful of my employer. Uh, it can be very small little things that can trigger that. I know I had an interview in a Dutch newspaper once, and I never mentioned anything about the name of my employer or the sector, but I got talked to. They said, you cannot do this, even though it had nothing to do with them. It was all personal. It was about me, but I didn't vet it with them. So that's something I need to be very, very careful of in doing. So that's a
Interesting.
very different aspect to personal branding, because on the one hand, I want to grow my brand, personal and private, my own company, but I cannot do that in a way that it conflicts.
Yeah, you're definitely in a more in a tougher position when it comes to something like that. I think, especially with bigger companies and well, to be honest, more legacy companies, they have a very hard time, uh, accepting that people have their own lives too, basically, and they do other stuff outside of work and they enjoy other stuff outside of their work. I think the younger companies, if I look, I'm in the creative world and creative agencies, for example, they stimulate the, own ideas and they would definitely promote a initiative from people within their company and like please go be creative as much as you can and work on different things. But yeah, I can fully understand your that you need to be subtle with certain things, and it's just you just need to take it into consideration at all times. So it's yeah, tough sometimes. I can imagine.
Yes, sometimes. Yeah.
Anyone else who is working on their personal brand or would like to do more on their personal brand at this point?
I think the latter is a forever going problem, right? Knowing that it's so important to jump on it. We kind of have our talks around this, and a few of those that don't know me in front of personal friends outside of the community and such. But I myself work in recruitment, and I post quite a lot naturally to kind of get some traction on roles I'm working for my clients and such. And have a very, very large network in LinkedIn naturally. On the candidate and client side, I think I have like 1,200 connections, but 12,000 connections, sorry. But how do I utilize that then from a personal brand? And I think where I, as an individual, get stuck not necessarily they have to speak to me here, but maybe in general, because some people might resonate with it. Where I get stuck is in between these two ears here, because I can never really get out of knowing that I have to do it to actually putting pen to paper, right, and making my first posts and such. That first mental hurdle of actually doing, that's something that I really struggle with.
Have you tried different things in order to get your mojo going?
I've made posts around, posting maybe it might have been too close to work than something that is close to me as an individual. But if I were to post something out there and kind of like a market trend that I've been seeing in recruitment or even within the specialism that I work with in supply chain, and ask kind of like, hey, what are your thoughts, and put in like the emojis that you do for kind of like, hey, this is the choice, this is what resonates, and I get 0, right? And then it's for me like, okay, I kind of go back in my cuddle up myself like, hey, nobody gave me any love here, so why would I do it again?
Well, it's interesting. I'll share a quick quote or one of my clients that I help with is with LinkedIn content. He gave me we started and about 4 weeks in, so he was dropping a lot of content on LinkedIn, and then 4 weeks in he said, I had 3 calls this day with people that I know and possible new clients and investors, and they all 3 of them complimented him on his LinkedIn activity and that the stuff he's sharing is very interesting and that they enjoyed it. And then he said, you know what's funny? None of them have ever liked the post. So yeah, I see a lot of laughing faces for the people that know.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So that's my point, because that's, it's not always, and it's very strange because Instagram and Facebook have created this whole like and share culture, and everything is confirmed with likes, and if you don't get likes, it's not good. I think LinkedIn is one of the best platforms to show that this is not true. That there's a lot of people that watch and see a lot of things. Like even people in the Discord community right now that I talk to that have seen all my stuff, but I've never seen their them liking anything or commenting, because I remember Ferry, I've always seen his profile picture. I told him before. But there's also people that I talk to now saying, hey, I've been following you for a long time. I really enjoy what you're doing. And then I think, I've never seen you liking anything. And that's funny. So, to give you a little bit of a push in the back, or how to say that, it's not only, if even, and combined with that, and that's more from a structure standpoint, and just working on the magic algorithm, which is very slow. I mean, a very small part in my opinion still, but consistency is key in that as well. They need to get used to the fact that you're talking about stuff like that too, and they're like, hey, this time they read it like, oh, okay, whatever.
Oh, well, I mean, me, talking is not an issue, never. It's just kind of going from that natural conversational gift of the gab to actually having to put something static out to the world. And that's kind of where I feel like I might not have enough creativity or something to write something appealing. And I know kind of that's, again, in between my head, and I should just, as somebody very knowledgeable within my industry should probably write opinions around that. But yeah, I just kind of get stuck there.
Yeah, it's very understandable. I know, Ferry, you raised your hand, so you might want to add something here.
Yeah, for sure. So Robert, I recognize it. It's sometimes I do feel like I'm not creative enough, or I don't have enough content to post. What really helps me is to take some time during my week or a weekend and take a couple of topics that are evergreen. And what I then do is I use a free tool to schedule posts. And I could say, like, I take 3 easy topics that are close to me, that are evergreen, so not news related. And I post on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which guarantees I have at least 3 posts in that week, which is good for awareness and building your brand. And also it stimulates me, because now I feel like I've already done 3 posts. I only have to do 2 more to get 1 each working day. Which makes it easier. So I take away like the threshold that's too high to make 5, 6, 7 posts. It really helped me to just get some evergreen content and then schedule.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a good suggestion there. And have you noticed if there's any time of posting that you would see better result? That not that it's necessarily result driven for me, right? Because if we talk around that, Instagram and all these social medias created that, like, and that's the most important piece. But have you noticed if you would gather more traction posting at any certain time frame throughout the day?
No, because there's too many factors that go into play. Because I've tried all sorts of times. I've got one post that went viral, which I posted during a match. I was in the stadium, and it was like 3:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday. It was my best post. And if you read all the blog posts and all the experts, they say never post on Sunday, etc., etc. And this was on LinkedIn. So I have no idea. It depends on so many factors. The content, how quick it is liked, how many people read it. So I have no firm answer. I would just say test and see what works for you.
Before I go to JV, the one thing I do say is FUCK the algorithm, because all these so-called LinkedIn influencers, they talk about the algorithm and this is the time you should post and this is the time to post. In the end of the day, it won't matter. It's exactly fair to say it won't matter. If it's good, it's good. It's going to be picked up, and it's going to, some things are. It's certain moments and elements coming together. And I wouldn't be too focused on the algorithm, the almighty algorithm, because especially a platform like LinkedIn is not that biased yet from an algorithmic standpoint. It's not that bad, just as Instagram and Facebook, that it's all about these times and pay to win and whatsoever. But JV, you were next.
Yeah, and that's what during my YouTube days, it was very important to
Yeah.
post on specific times. First of all, you need quality over quantity, but then you also need quantity or just stability. There needs to be some type of schedule posting so people know, okay, I can expect something from Ferry or from Robert. But to start off with, I think Ferry said it as well. To start off, because it's a threshold you need to get over, keep it close to yourself, because those are topics it's easy to write about if you're passionate about a topic. And I think that's to start off with. Those are the easiest ones to get into. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents.
Cool.
But
So keep it close to heart, right? Yeah.
yeah, and I like what Fun said. The algorithm,
He's back
because
with the boost.
it's yeah, it's tough, especially when I did YouTube. It was horrendous, and
Yeah.
I have a lot of content creators that have very large YouTube channels, but they struggle. It's a struggle. It's just yeah. So yeah, and in
Keep
the
it
end,
real.
you just need to dive into it and just do it.
True. Kasia?
Yeah, so for me, it's like, I probably will comment a bit on the Discord and social media. I'm that type of person that will read something and I will not comment or like, but in
Yeah.
my head, I like it and I will
Yeah.
remember and I will, oh, okay, I remember this person. They know what they're talking about, but I will never like Discord. I'm part of like some of the Discord like crypto groups and I never comment. I just read. I read and then I remember certain people. Oh, I know, like they are quite interesting. But like for me, it's like I'm coming from a little bit different background because I do PhD in astrophysics. So I decided to go into research, but like my biggest fear is I do this research, but I have to present it. So therefore, so in order to get positions in the research, I have to build probably my own brand by showing people that's what I've researched. Oh, you can hire me because I'm this and this and that. And so part of the PhD, I have to give a talk in the second year. And I thought, okay, I have already some research. Why don't I just do a talk now just to get it out of the way? And the more I do it, the better I get. And I also had like one of my friend in Poland was saying, why don't you come and like give a talk? Like we'll get some people from outside, like not related to science, and you just give a talk, or maybe we'll do podcast. And my view was like, first of all, I haven't learned physics in Polish, so I will have to basically learn how to say something in a something about astrophysics in a very simple way in Polish. So that's my biggest fear, and speak in front of the crowd. And I think So I have to overcome now this fear of not only speaking in a crowd, but sometimes even speaking in front of all the professors that probably know way better about the topic than I do. But I think it's also that fear of, am I going to embarrass myself and I will remember that? But yeah, I don't know if you guys have any tips for that.
I think JV has, so go ahead, man.
Yeah, it's what Robert said. In our sector, it's sales, recruitment. We need to talk. We need to be confident. We need to know what we're doing. But I say to my wife as well. She's a communications manager at a big university in the Netherlands. And every time she needs to speak to deans and to scientists, because it's a scientific university, it's very difficult for her. But I always tell her, and everyone who's has difficulties with that, you know your topic, especially you're knowledgeable about what you know, so nobody can ask you anything that you don't know. As long as you make sure you know everything about your topic, nothing can go wrong, because yeah, you're the one that's knowledgeable. You did the research, you have all the facts, and I think that's the most important thing. In our sector, you can get away with not knowing everything, or and you need to bluff your way through it, but most definitely not for you. And still, to this day, when I have a strategic meeting with one of my clients and I don't know everything, and I know it can compromise me, I'll just be honest. I say, sorry, I don't know it. Let me look into it and I'll come back to you. And, that's the two things I think is most important. Be true to yourself, and you know what you know, and use that knowledge. That's you'll ace it. Easy.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think you should learn from Mark Zuckerberg going in front of Congress. He says, "I have to look it up. I'll have my team get back to you." That's the only answer he gave.
I
He
was
said,
like,
"Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I'll get back to you."
but that's usually the advice that I get. Everyone's telling me, like, look, you've done the research, you know what you're talking about. And if someone asks you a question that you don't know, you just say, I'll come back to you. Or if it's for me, it's, what if they ask me a simple physics question and they will catch me not knowing the basics? So what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna, oops.
I think it won't happen. I think
Yeah,
eventually when you start talking, you'll be.
yeah, we are the creatures of like overthinking, I think. So like
True.
we have to do something for the first time. It's no one's gonna understand that, or I will embarrass myself, or no one's gonna be interested in my posts. But we don't know that until we try,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's before I go to Ferry is indeed what I want to add here is exactly the connection you just made with it's basically talking in public versus making content on LinkedIn, for example, or any other. It's the same thing. It's what if other people don't like it? What if other people don't agree? What if I make a mistake? And at the end of the day, you shouldn't fucking care about it. That's basically the bottom line. But I understand that it's scary, and I even sometimes like I'm. But also, I don't know. It's something that will grow on you. I think the more you're gonna speak about your own passions and the things you believe in, and as long as you say I believe, that's it's. There's not a lot of people that can say something about it if you believe in it, and but yeah, being open minded and being honest is I think the best approach to stuff like that. But Ferry had something. Ferry in a flash. Has he? Go ahead.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like imposter syndrome. Like, who am
It
I to
is.
know all this and everyone is better than me? I do a lot of public speaking. And the thing is that what I work on is what me and my best friend and co founder, we have created it. But it intersects with things like artificial intelligence, which is fine because I've done some research, I've got my knowledge on it. If I talk to general public, then I'm the one who knows everything, right? But I've also been talking to people who are data scientists and AI experts. The trick is to find something that adds value to them on something that you know something about and they might not. If I talk to AI experts, I'm not gonna try and be an AI expert because I already know that they are better. So I'm gonna find something that is in my line of work, but it's not in their line of work. So maybe if you've done some research and you found a nugget that they might have not, that can add value to them. So I never try and be smarter than the expert, even though I am an expert. I'm just going to try and find something that's different, but still adds value without compromising my own knowledge.
It's a partnership.
Yep.
Thank you, Ferry. Flash, I know you raised your hand, took it away. I don't know if
Yeah,
you want to
hey.
come back. Coolest
Yeah.
cat in the room.
Thank you. No, I didn't really have something to add on top of the public speaking part. Unfortunately, I was more thinking about like the personal branding and the LinkedIn
course.
stuff. Like, let's say, let's take my example. I work full time, like as a UX designer or UX consultant in the tech industry, for example, which that's what my LinkedIn is about. What kind of advice would you guys give to someone that wants to make posts or make text articles about something else? Like, for example, if I want to talk about NFTs or something like that, how would that be a problem if I would talk on that topic, even though like my full-time job and it says that I'm with another company, like completely different from what I want to talk about? How would you go about if someone would have that problem?
I don't think there's a problem. Well, the thing is this, like JV's just said, if you work for a big corporate organization, they might think about that stuff differently. So if you haven't, and if you think the company that you work for might have, an opinion on the stuff that you do online, like financial companies, for example, banks, and the more regulatory stuff. So I'm not sure if you work in technology as UX designer, you're probably in a way more open-minded company than a bank. I hope. In the end, I don't think it matters. I think that you just show other people what you are interested in, and the fact that you understand the world of NFTs right now shows that you're ahead of the game, shows that you know stuff that other people don't. And I think it only adds value to your UX because you're already thinking ahead of everybody else. So if let's say you were a freelancer, for example, and I wouldn't, or you're looking for a new job, and I'm a company looking to hire a UX designer, and I bump it onto your LinkedIn and I see a bunch of stuff that you are thinking about, working on, have ideas on, have thoughts on. It, to me, that's added value. That gives your profile a better a bump up. It's a plus in my opinion. So again, if going back to JV, what his example in his position, if you're sure that your employer doesn't really, of course, there's limits to everything. You can't shout everything online. That might be not the smartest thing, but if you're talking about stuff like this, I don't see any problem, and I would just say, go for it, man. But
because
Kasia wanted to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Because I usually don't make posts, but sometimes I have a lot of thoughts that I want to put out. But recently, like just on the topic of the stupid algorithm, I just made some short text about I changed my profile picture, and I thought a lot more people would like not connect with me, but it's turn out that's that other way around. Like more people are connecting with me and talking to me on LinkedIn, and that's the post I made, and that was like my best post so far, even though it was like something I just thought about quickly and wanted to put out.
Yeah, and in the end of the day, it's all about value. So people found that interesting that you shared that insight that you just gave, the fact that changing your profile picture into, so you changed it into your NFT, or it's just different picture?
Yeah, I changed it to my
Yeah,
NFT
so
instead of my actual picture, and
exactly,
went
it's a
better than
very hot
expected.
topic. Yeah, it's a very hot topic right now. So people, it draws attention, right? Like, hey, like, oh, is he one of those guys that is into NFTs? Like, what's going on here?
Exactly.
So that's it's very cool. The one thing I wanted to add is that it's also there's different platforms out there, and you can talk about different stuff on different platforms. For me personally, for example, I love photography. I love film photography, and eventually I'm using my Instagram for that. Like, I barely post pictures of myself anymore on my Instagram, but I just share the pictures that I took. And if you don't like that, then unfollow me. If you do like that, then stay around. But for example, I haven't talked about Band of Insiders. I haven't talked about that on my Instagram. Gregory said the same thing. I'm not going to talk about Band of Insiders on my Instagram because we'll have a totally different crowd. going to flood our fucking community, which we don't want.
Yes.
So that's with a reason, and that's the same for you. Like maybe if you want to share and talk UX and talk art or share your art, maybe Instagram is a better place to be. You want to talk about NFTs and the business and the development and trends that are happening right now from a business perspective, do it on LinkedIn. So there's you can be flexible with stuff like that. All right, there's a lot of hands, so I think Kasia was first. If you still want to go ahead.
No, it's fine. You guys can go ahead.
Okay. And Ferry.
Sure. Yeah, I think Flash. Maybe one of the reasons that posted well is because it was genuine. It was you. Because when you write something forcefully, or you feel like this needs to create sales or whatever, people sense it in some way. Like I said, I had one good post that went viral. It was a personal rant on the 9 to 5. I don't work on the 9 to 5. I'm not a coach. I'm not anything to do with the 9 to 5. But I just felt that in my heart. I posted it. I was genuine, and that's what people like. So if you want to talk about anything which, like Frans says, is appropriate, and it's not harming your employer, yeah, go for it. I mean, it helps us to get to know you and not your corporate brand.
I agree.
Thank you.
Robert?
Yeah, no, real quick, just to add on to the others there, when you speak about posting something visual on LinkedIn being within the UX space there, I think for myself, when I take the time to go through LinkedIn very thoughtfully and just really take in the messages opposed to just really flicking through, and both would stand true. If I see an image, I'm quite sooner to stop a second and just let that image sink in. And for me as well, like if you've taken the time to create an image, that for me is ever so personal and creative, because there's something chemical going on in your brains to create that, which for me is ever so more personal than putting words on paper. And I always, as well with like the avatar that you have there with that cool cat, that really speaks to me as an individual. So I think you can say quite a lot more with visual graphics on LinkedIn than you think. How can I say that? Like the impact that you can have with posting something visual on LinkedIn can be far greater than just putting in words like I struggle with. So I would definitely say like putting stuff out there on a platform that is graphical would definitely gain traction.
I totally agree. I'm looking at time here, and we do have other things to talk about. So if there's no more other questions on personal branding or anything, I would love to round it up for considering this topic. Of course, we're probably going to talk about it a lot more because it is a very interesting and important topic for a lot of people. So just to summarize a little bit, I think the bottom line is stay true to yourself. I agree with Ferry that indeed my one post that went viral from my personal page was a rant about a woman that was on stage and she basically dissed my whole college that I took. So I ranted on that she was nuts, and people loved it because that clip of her was going viral, of her making a point. But then, in my opinion, she completely missed the point by dissing my school or my college degree. So I ranted on that, and it went viral. So it's stay true to yourself. Just go for it. Don't think about it too much, Kasia and other people. And learn by doing. That's basically what everyone is doing, and that's what I'm doing right now with Band of Insiders, and that's why we're here. So I think it's a good example. Robert, I don't know if you wanted to. You did.
No, sorry, Harvey just keeps coming and wants to wave at you, but it's run away again. So never mind. I thought I'd take the interlude there really quickly in between to let him wave at you, but he's already gone on his merry way, so ignore that. Apologies.
Another topic, we talked about it a lot in the Discord, is the whole development of Web 3.0. Where are we going with the world to we're going more digital, we're going more online, we're going to the metaverse, or however the definition you want to make of it. And the reason why I invited Hai and Flash is, like I said in the beginning, I think I've never bought an NFT just yet. I never minted one. I never sold one. I know you guys have. So interesting. Again, listening back to the earlier the conversation of last week, I think what we kind of missed on is the true definition of the NFT for everyone. And I think that's a very interesting topic to start with, and Hi or Flash, any of you, if you want to take that lead, and like what is the definition of an NFT for you?
What's the definition of NFT for me? That would be like when I came into, like, just to start from the beginning. Like I said before, I work as a designer full time. Been working as a designer for like 5-6 years. But earlier this year, I got into NFTs, like reading about it. Not from like a specific source. Like I got it from different sources, like Gary Vee, reading about people's artwork that sold for millions, and all of that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to know why. Like, why would people pay these big sums of money for a picture? That's what it is. Like, for people outside, it's a picture.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a token of ownership, and what you do with that token of ownership is up to the provider and up to the community if you have one. Like let's say that you could have a pizza restaurant that says, okay, you can have this token. If you have this token, you can get a free pizza every week. And if you sell that token, I get a royalty cut of 20%. And you can get a profit of selling that token. So it's just a matter of ownership of something. In my case, like I didn't, like, even though I researched about NFTs like in the beginning of the year and the start of the year, I didn't buy something until like June. But up until then, I had saved up money just enough to buy a specific NFT that I would like. In June, I found like Bored Apes. I don't know if you guys heard about it. That was the only one at that time that had a certain utility behind it and an actual plan of what they wanted to do. And of course, a nice looking ape as a profile picture. At that time, the floor was at 0.8, I think it was. And I bought it at 1.1 ETH, which only reason why I bought it a bit above is because I wanted one that I actually liked. So in case it was dumping, I at least had an ape that I liked as a profile picture.
Yeah.
But the reason I bought it was also because, like I said, it had the utility behind it, and they promised things that a lot of projects didn't have at that time. Nowadays, you have like different projects that with different roadmaps and stuff. But at that time, it was quite unique. So going back to the question, like, what was the NFT for me? Is something that you can actually own and use, like both digitally or like in the physical world. I know that I had events in New York for a couple, like in October, where a lot of celebrities and a lot of other people actually attended as well. So for some people, that itself is a value of just be able to connect with other people. But yeah, I don't like. Is there anything specific you guys wondering about when it comes to NFTs?
No, I mean it's just a conversation starter.
Yeah.
Indeed, I totally agree. I think the whole foundation and explanation of a NFT is anything is just a concept of ownership. And I think the podcast I talked about last time by Chris Dixon, he says it well. He says, Web 1 was about reading, like you could actually read something on the internet, and websites were more like magazines than anything else. Then Web 2.0 came, which was the whole development of social and mobile, which turned reading into creating, because that allowed us all to create stuff and put stuff online, create content, art, whatever it may be, share it with the world. And the whole Web 3.0 foundation is built on ownership. And I think we're just seeing the very beginning of NFTs. And I think the art piece is a very easy connection to make for a lot of people. Like, okay, I now own this, and this is completely mine, and nobody else can take it away. Like I was talking to my dad, and I said, we were on the news that the Dutch government just bought a Van Gogh for 150 million. because everybody's like, "Whoa, that's amazing. We should have that as a country and whatsoever." And I'm told my dad, I said, "Listen, I don't know if you heard about these NFTs, but these CryptoPunks are going to be the Van Goghs of 100 years from now, 100,000%, because they will be forever be the first, project that started this whole movement and made kind of brought NFTs to, I won't say the masses, because there's still a lot of people that are not up to this. I think probably 90 or 95% of the world still has no idea what the hell is going on. But 100 years from now, people will look at CryptoPunks and think, holy shit, that was, and Bored Ape will probably follow next, very fast. So Flash, you have a story for life. I can definitely tell you that you actually owned one. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I would before I just continue my rant, I would love to hand it over to Robert for a sec. Mute.
Sorry, apologies there. So for myself, I kind of feel like I have a good understanding of NFT, like in terms of, it being art, and then, having validation of ownership that you can also, prove, and there might be some smart contract or utility under it. But what I would like to get from this, and this doesn't have to necessarily be answered straight away, I just kind of want to put it out there. If we could maybe touch on this at some point, if we have time, or touch on it during one of the next sessions, is I like to invest. Like, I like to invest in crypto. I like to invest in stocks. So, from an investment standpoint, like, why should I be in the NFT space?
Anyone? If not, I'll go.
You go first.
I think it's very tough at this moment because, with every when I look at for the people that don't know, Gregory and I have been investing in startups, for example, for the last 5 years, and I've, part of my role was to look for these companies and talk to a lot of companies, and with every new trend, you see an explosion of projects and new startups, and everybody, to give you an example, everybody wanted to jump on the CBD, like legalized weed, and CBD. Second one, of course, the ICO boom in 2017 and 2018. Everybody was doing a token raise and everybody was doing an ICO. There's another big one I'm forgetting, which we can't remember. Doesn't matter. So although we believe in the power of CBD as for sports, for a lot of health things, and of course Greg is very big on health and as a top athlete has a lot of understanding of that space. So we completely understood that this was going to be big and that this was going to be important, that legalizing weed in the US is going to be a big thing, but it's we didn't understand it enough to make a decision on that. Then second or thirdly, we talking gaming, which was a passion of ours, it still is, and we looked at a lot of companies. We eventually in 2018 or the end of 2017, we said, we got to get into the space. But again, gaming was such a massive buzzword. It exploded. Everybody wanted to do something with gaming, and a lot of people saw, okay, as soon as I put gaming in my pitch deck, I'm going to raise some money. So we had talk to a lot of people, but because we understood the space personally, we were able to make a wise decision on where we invested. And I think with FaZe Clan becoming $1 billion company, we made the right choice. But to go back to your point, that's the same with NFTs right now. Like, if I shared a platform in the group at this moment, where is it? Okay, here, the fractional.art. Fractional.art, I bumped into this, is a website that you can buy a piece of a CryptoPunk or a Bored Ape, which is, in my opinion, the only way if you were looking to invest as an outsider, because that's what is going to be my second point, is I think we all are, maybe except for Flash and High at this point, are still outsiders to this space. That's the safest bet you can make. Like I said, I completely believe in CryptoPunks will never go away. Bored Apes will probably never go away. So owning a piece of a Bored Ape or a CryptoPunk will probably keep its value and go up in value. But then again, if you do actually want to invest in this space, and you probably need to dedicate every outside of your family's life in terms of hours in a day to it, in order to find those gems, because you have to understand the business, the culture, the communities, and you have to go into these discords and understand what they're doing and why this is interesting. And like, so that's why my personal advice would be either stay away or go fully in.
Yeah.
And yeah, Flash, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a lot more difficult now than like during summer, and there's a reason why like I did my research like for 6 months before even like putting money into an NFT, because there's so many projects now, and even back then there was quite a lot of projects, but now it's it's insane. And back then you were more focused on what the team wanted to do, like what the roadmap looked like. But no, now it's more like what team is it? Like who are behind the project? Are they docs? Are they what have they done before? So it's a lot of aspects to look into, and not even then I haven't even started about like the community. How does the community look like? Is it are they active on Discord? Are they active on Twitter? So like Fun said, it takes a lot of time if you want to get into it without like risking too much. I work, like I said, I work full time still, but a lot of my time after 5 p.m. like past 12, I had gotten like 5 hours of normal sleep max, like
Yeah,
and then I had to take a nap like during the day if I want to
yeah,
survive. So there's a lot of times that needs to be put into it if you want to like get into the nice projects that not gonna scam you after like 1 month
yeah.
or something
I
like that.
I totally agree. Before I go to you, Robert, the one thing I wanted to add is that you also see, in terms of, again, like where I operate personally is more on how will all these elements affect on culture and entertainment and all these spaces. What you see now, of course, there's a lot of celebrities trying to do NFTs. A lot of, like, I've seen The Matrix is doing NFTs, the Spider-Man is doing NFTs, so Hollywood is trying to dip into it. I I, I would personally not put my money into stuff like that right now, because we don't see any utility yet of how this is ever going to play out, if it's ever going to play out. And then secondly, there is one interesting part is that where you can look at current artists that you know, that are known artists and that have, you know, that you like their art, generally like their art at this point, and they're going NFT. But then again, they're probably also higher in price already. What and then I saw a bank. I'm a big Banksy fan. I think a lot of people will be a Banksy fan. And that there was this, I think it's a DAO, or they bought a Banksy artwork for $12.5 million, and they're gonna sell it as an NFT in 10,000 pieces. So you can, and they're gonna create a digital version, and you'll see on the digital version, you'll see exactly what kind of piece of the original artwork you have. So you own a piece of a Banksy. So that to me is cool stuff. But again, like, will it ever go at times X, at 10 times X10? I don't know. Like, I have no idea. But there's a lot of interesting stuff happening. I'm just following the space, and whenever I'm ready, whenever I just see something dope, because I do want a cool ass profile pic, just like Flash. But you know, I'm just discovering. But sorry, I'm taking over this conversation. That's Robert. This was your question.
Yeah, no, I think I have quite too many follow-up questions for the attention that my kids are asking now. So I'm going to have to sign out, guys. I appreciate all the input and wish you guys a fruitful conversation further.
Thank you, friend. Kasha, go ahead.
Like, another interesting thing that I've noticed with the song, like music royalties, which obviously we've been like worked together 10 years ago in that. So there's a couple actually crypto companies that will basically put a song by, and it's not only songs by unknown artists. We're talking about, I think it was Tyga and then something like that. And then people can basically buy shares of the song. So it's almost like you buy, you know, like, I don't know, startup raising money. So you buy shares of the song, then the song gets released and you get shares of the royalties. And their idea is, okay, so they know that up and coming artists are struggling. So if we can then actually act as a bank for the for the artist, then basically they have a way of earning money by making music. I don't know how exactly that works, but I do like that idea, because I think the whole problem in the music industry is the royalties. I mean, I know Spotify is not paying, like, almost paying nothing to the artist,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And like, I think it's a great. I think it's the whole NFTs. It's the same thing as like another company that is basically putting on their website collections of photography for like different photographers, and you can buy either one photos or like the whole collection. So it's almost like it's the artists have a chance now to earn money directly
Yep.
without, I don't know, agents and all that other stuff that they are taking cuts.
Yeah. They're going to be the big winner of this development, is the actual creators of pieces like this. And to get back to your music, which indeed is close to my heart. The cool thing, and like the music industry, why there hasn't been any innovation in music for the past 30 or 40 years, basically. Like, of course, they all went online, and then there was streaming services, but in terms of business and management, and they just adapted. There was no innovation, and the problem, because of that, I mean, why there hasn't been any innovation in that space, is because it's such a close business. Like the labels don't want to share anything. They control everything. They're the major bosses. I heard Hotel California, if you listen to that song by the Eagles, is actually, if you listen to the lyrics, it's about the hotel is a record label. It's an analogy about that you can't, as soon as you get in, you can't get out, stuff like that. It's an analogy for a record label, how bad the situation is. And we're talking 80s. So that never changed. And now the whole development of again Web 3.0, and the concept of digital ownership is going to be able to change that, because indeed we've seen artists going solo, not signing with a big label, and but now, because of blockchain, indeed you're able to buy a piece of a song, and as soon as the song makes money through royalties or whatsoever, you'll automatically get your piece. And that's such, that takes away scamming, that takes away people that owes, all the shady stuff that's happening in music, takes it all out. It goes directly, it's decentralized. It goes directly from however the money will come in, who owns what, it will be distributed equally. It's an incredible development. And then again, going back to then the question of what is an NFT, it's basically just its ownership. And that we'll see in the next coming years where that concept will be deployed upon. Like, I've talked to Gregory about soccer or football, the contracts and transfers and all that stuff, which is also such a shady ass world. Is there will be a moment where you can buy a piece of a player, or how does this going to turn out? And same with music. So yeah, to round it up a little bit, that I think the creators are the biggest winners in this new development, for sure. Go ahead, Kasha.
Just to touch on like the football thing, I've read somewhere that obviously now the teams are releasing their tokens, and it's what actually the owner, the people who buy those tokens, what kind of utilities they will have. Like,
Yeah.
even let's say deciding on who's gonna play, like, in that game, which is crazy, because I mean, obviously I don't think it's gonna go to that, but it's almost like if that, I don't know, if me owning certain amount will have some, I can have a say in a team. I think it's great. I mean, there's so much money in football that people are willing to buy. I don't know even how much shirts cost.
Yeah.
Like, but it's if you can have an impact by owning a token, then I think that's gonna go crazy.
Yeah. And I think a lot of brands, companies, sports, all these things, they eventually will be forced to turn their business models into stuff like this. And just like, climate change is slowly, finally picking up a little bit, and that companies, I don't, just from a purely branding perspective, I don't think, for example, fashion. I don't think you can start a fashion brand without having a cause, without having thinking about climate and thinking about inequality and people. Like it's you can't you can't survive without it. And that's probably the same what's going to happen with Indeed ownership. Like yeah, like I can go. That's why I sleep 5 hours a night, just like Flash. It's there's so much stuff, and I think in general, it's just I'm in a stage where I want to learn. I want to learn everything, and I'm not looking active like, okay, I need to grab an opportunity right now. I need to come up with a genius idea and change the world. No, I'm just trying to understand the space, and then with the knowledge and experience I have from all the things I've done, there will be eventually a moment where I say, okay, this is how what I'm going to do here, or what I can add, or how I can maybe Band of Insiders is the first step in that, for example, because when I dove into the rabbit hole of Web 3.0, 2 weeks later my Discord was live, and I've been running around with this idea for 3 years. So yeah, it's a good time, I guess. And everybody's quiet. It's preaching to the core.
Just to touch on the music part, like Tory Lanez, he sold like 1 million copies of his NFT album like in 57 seconds, which is insane. And he got all that, like, since he's also independent, he got most of the revenue to himself and his team, of course.
Yeah.
But then also like shifts the responsibility to him to provide for the owners of the token to actually get some utility, get something for the money. I don't know how that have been going, but like some people, of course, might buy his album only just to resell and get that profit instead of the utility behind it. But it's insane what you can do with NFTs. Like we just touching on it like 1% of it, but I'm pretty sure that like 2 or 3 years from now, a lot of projects gonna go like to zero as well. Even though like in the macro, like Gary also always talks about it, like in the macro vision, like NFT is gonna get bigger and bigger, but at the same time, like a lot of projects gonna dump.
Yeah.
After a while, unfortunately.
It's the same with every, again, going back to the trends that we've seen the last couple of years. There's always a big boom, a big hype, and then shit will all die, and the good project will remain and stay alive, and they will come back, and then we'll probably see the development of now. Okay, this is actually starting to make sense. So that's why, I totally agree. Very.
Yeah, I think for like opportunities, they create themselves, right? We had this talk last week about NFTs where I basically said I have no idea what it is. It feels like we're just selling images for Ethereum, whatever. So you guys explained what it is. I dove into that rabbit hole, and now I figured out that it can add value for the thing that I'm building. I'm not going to go into that, but we're building something, and we figured that we wanted to include everyone. It's based on diversity and inclusion. So how good would it be if we can include clients or whoever? And so we quickly figured out that an NFT is actually valuable if you want to include people and build a community and use that technology. So what we're now seeing is we're creating an opportunity where we can now use this hype technology for something good. We just need to find projects that are becoming stable and figuring out how the technology works without being hype and pump and dump. And I think you're slowly going into a phase where this technology is becoming stable, and then the general public will accept it, which will make it easier for us to adopt it as well and explain it to other people. So I think that you just need to wait until the hype train passes, but it's going to definitely stay because it is. You also see football clubs already adopting it, including supporters. So you're no longer just a supporter cheering, but now you're part of the club, which is building a community in a very different way than we used to, like even a year ago. So I'm pretty hyped, and I think that things like, especially Band of Insiders, is sharing the knowledge and showing how it can become valuable. And then the opportunities just flow from there. That's my experience just from last week's talk.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. That basically means just let shit explode first, and then go. It happened the same with crypto, in my opinion. Like I was in crypto in 2017, bought my first stuff, and the difference with now is that I didn't understand the like how it's going to turn into real life stuff. Basically, like I believed in digital, and I believed there should be digital money at one point, but I had no idea what Ethereum was actually going to do. Then shit exploded, and a lot of people lost a lot of money, and nobody talked about it again. But then things that remained are the very good ones. So, if I was watching a video, and then they went back to the top 20 coins based on market cap, starting in 2015 or 16, and then until now. And then you see Bitcoin has forever been one. There was one point I think Ethereum was a little bit bigger. No, there was Ripple was at one point bigger than Ethereum, but very short amount of time. But eventually, it's always been Bitcoin 1, Ethereum 2, and then everything underneath it swapped around a little bit. XRP of Ripple, it disappeared, then ADA came, and it's the same going to happen with NFTs. That this whole art hype that's probably going to explode at one point. The good project will remain, but after that, the real innovation comes in. Indeed, how can we turn this technique of blockchain and ownership, and how can we use that in other things besides art, basically. That's it. Now, I think looking at time, we're getting close to an hour again. I think that's a nice talk. So if there's no
for one day, yeah.
Exactly, and it's Thursday, so everybody has to go back to their boring ass jobs on Friday morning. No, I'm joking. Maybe some. But if there's no people with concrete questions at this moment, sorry, Flash. But we're gonna, like I said before, we're gonna do this every week. I'm really enjoying this. I love this is again, it's a community thing. Like I would love for you all and the people listening, or the people in the community, like share your topics. What do we want to talk about next week? Back on Friday again. I want to make this a Friday afternoon thing, and see what comes up during the week. Discuss it and give our opinions and learn and share. And that's basically it. So thanks again all for joining. For the new people and the people that are hanging around since episode 1. This is now episode 2. Fucking amazing. Exactly. Thank you again. Hopefully see you guys next week. And I'm going to share this recording a lot faster than last time. I'm building my structure, and it's getting closer and closer and better. So yeah, thanks again.
If you need any help, let me know. Huh?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I will. Thank you.
I'll have a one-on-one one day and look into
Perfect. Thanks everyone.
Cheers everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.